Hey, welcome into another episode of the Fat Guy Podcast. I am the Fat Guy. Most people call me Brent Mason. I'm just a guy that was fat my whole life, probably from age 4 or 5. I'm pretty sure I inherited some type of metabolic dysregulation. At the very least, insulin insensitivity. And when you start out in life like that, you have very little margin for error. You know, if my parents had fed me exactly right and I'd been a very active person, I possibly could have grown up with relatively healthy weight. But boy, when you have insensitivity to insulin, you really don't have much of a shot. You kind of got to be dead on the whole time. I've lost 125 pounds. I love a ketogenic diet, and I try to help people and share my story as much as I can. All that being said, I have a couple of disclaimers, and then when we get into this amazing keto drink that I've started drinking every day. The first thing I'd say is please share this. You never know whose life you're going to change. Hit the share button, share it on your social media. Somebody that's a friend of yours on your friend list that needs to lose 50, 75, 100, 125, 150, 200 pounds. You could literally change their life once they discover the keto way of eating, and I'm not even exaggerating about that. Not only because I've seen hundreds and hundreds of other people turn their lives around, but of course, obviously, I've done it personally. Subscribe to us on social media, no matter what the format you like best. If it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and my favorite, Snapchat, my username is Fat Guy Podcast, all one word, on all of those. So Facebook /Fat Guy Podcast, Twitter /Fat Guy Podcast, or you can just do a search on there and you'll find us. And then download the Spreaker app. That's the best way to keep up with the podcast. And I would say, maybe even more importantly, is an easy way to scroll back and see previous episodes, which we'll actually reference in today's podcast, the previous episode. So if it's one you hadn't heard and you were curious about it and you're listening on the Spreaker app, as soon as this podcast is finished, you can just scroll down my list of previous shows, find the one I was talking about, and listen to it rather easily. Spreaker. It's a free app. Download it. Once you download it, search for the Fat Guy Podcast. Once you find us, hit that little heart button, like, follow, love, subscribe, whatever it's called on there, and you'll get notifications about upcoming shows. And lastly, I'm not a doctor. I'm not trained in the medical profession. I'm not here giving medical advice. I am here sharing my opinions and my own personal life experiences. Before you begin any kind of a diet or weight loss program, you should always consult with a doctor. And I mean that when I say that. So, if you reference one of my earlier podcasts on electrolytes, I go into pretty great detail about why, especially when you're first changing over to a ketogenic diet, why you need electrolytes. But I've found now that well over a year being keto and all the many people I know in the keto world, keto people who do keto well continue to take electrolytes. At the very least, they monitor their sodium. And they may put tons more on food, or they may have different ways of getting it in. There's a big body of evidence out there that the USDA recommended allowances for sodium are way too low. Epidemiological studies, I believe there's even a couple of controlled blind studies out there. It's just a ton of evidence that we don't eat nearly enough salt. And so electrolytes do a lot of things in the body. One of the things I like to share with people is our body's an electrical system. And the reason your heart fires is because of electricity. And the reason your brain synapses work and fire between each other is electricity. And they need a conductive agent, and electrolytes are a big part of that. So if you like your heart beating and you like your brain working, getting the electrolytes right is pretty important, to quote Larry David. So I've done several things. I take sodium supplements, these 1 gram sodium pills. Usually I take about 4 of them a day, and that along with however much sodium I eat a day would add up to, somewhere in the 5 to 6 gram a day range, which appears to be optimum. I'd say pretty much all the studies I've seen and the presentations I've seen on it, it's definitely between 4 and 6. So I think the USDA is 2 or something 2 grams, 2.5 grams or something like that. So you can see it's quite a bit more. I started playing around with drinks because I do other things. Like, one of the best things you can do, look, if you're a type 2 diabetic, or you have insulin resistance, or you're trying to control your blood sugars, one of the best things you can do is add apple cider vinegar to your day. And so for the longest time, anytime I'd eat, I would try to do a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, 15 to 30 minutes before I eat. I've also experimented with just taking it random times throughout the day. I've also taken it at night. So all these things help. Apple cider vinegar does a ton of things. First of all, I won't even get into the health benefits of ACV, but I'll just say it helps a ton of things. But helping you control blood sugar is one of them. And if you're trying to lose weight and you want to be healthy, you want to control blood sugar. So I definitely try to get that in. So I just started combining different things that I liked together. I was also taking lemon juice. So I would try to do a glass of lemon juice every day, which is basically just a tablespoon to 2 tablespoons of lemon juice and some water mixed together. I may or may not sweeten it. Sometimes I would sweeten it with my stevia monk fruit drops. Sometimes I wouldn't. But there's a lot of evidence that, especially if you're sensitive to kidney stones, but maybe even if you're not, that there's the potential for a ketogenic diet to cause kidney stones. And the way you combat that is with lemon juice. I said all that to say this. I started mixing certain things together to try to get it all in one drink to see if I could get something that I liked that tastes good. Now, I have a benefit, an advantage that maybe everybody doesn't have. I kind of like the taste of apple cider vinegar. Now, it's hard to drink. Obviously, it's very acidic. It's very harsh. So you have to dilute it. You have to do other things to it to be able to drink it. But overall, I would say that I find the taste of apple cider vinegar, it kind of reminds me of kombucha. I don't know if you ever drink kombucha or not, but kombucha is not everybody's cup of tea. But I like that kind of, sour, powerful, acidic taste. So it's been easier for me to drink it. So here's what I'm doing now, and I've been doing this for a while. I'm going to make one other warning. So I'm going to tell you this recipe with and without potassium. And again, you need to consult with a physician about anything about your diet, okay? I'm only sharing with you my experiences, and that's it. So potassium is an electrolyte that you can really experience some severe symptoms, probably primarily muscle cramping, but other ones as well if your potassium gets low. And that's another one of those electrolytes that can get low on a ketogenic diet. Now, if you're eating ample greens, leafy greens, you should not have any problem with potassium. But I find a lot of people don't eat greens, and I'm meeting more and more people that treat this diet more like a carnivore diet. Matter of fact, I'm trying to do that myself. Play around with it and see how I feel. So potassium is very important. Potassium is also very dangerous. Potassium is an electrolyte that you can overdose on, and it can kill you, okay? How easy is it for that to happen? It's not the easiest thing in the world, but it's also not super hard. There's a lot of things you can take and your body will just pee it right out and you have no issue with it. I know vitamin C is one of those. If you take too much vitamin C, your pee will just change colors and start to smell, and you'll just pee all of it out. And there's a ton of things like that. Potassium is not that. It will continue to build. So anyone that would be considering taking a potassium supplement or whatever should really know for sure that you're at a potassium deficit. Now, the USDA recommendation for potassium, and I've seen 2 different recommendations. It seems like there's the most consensus on about 4,700 milligrams a day, which is 4.7 grams. But I have seen 3,500 milligrams quoted too. And so honestly, I'm not exactly sure which is best. I would say a range between those two would probably be fine. I've been shooting for getting around 3,000 to 4,000 is what I've been doing. This is why it's very important to track. It's very important to track. If you track what you eat in MyFitnessPal and you do it accurately, look, you can do it poorly. I know a lot of people that half-ass MyFitnessPal. Look, do some research before you add a food and assume that it's right. Go try to find it on their website, on the official website. Try to verify that the numbers of what you're adding is right. And then once you do that, use that same one over and over. Because if you've used MyFitnessPal, you know this. You can put in, You can put in Jimmy Dean's original sausage, and you'll find 87 different entries for Jimmy Dean original sausage. Most of them are ones that other people have put in, and a lot of people just slack. Like, they won't put potassium in because they don't care. Like, there's a lot of people that'll put foods into MyFitnessPal, and they only care about calories. So they'll put calories in. They may put fat in because a lot of people track fat. But beyond that, they won't really care about anything else. They won't put the iron in. They won't put the vitamin A in. They won't put the potassium or the sodium in. They'll leave it all blank. So it's very important that you go check those things. But you got to track. If you track accurately, you'll know how much potassium you're getting a day. And I'll say this, if you're not really eating leafy greens, you're probably not getting any potassium or very little. If that's the case, you'd be surprised how much better you'll feel once you start getting potassium in every day. So, again, full disclaimer, potassium is a serious issue. You can OD on it. ODing on it can cause everything from nausea to fatigue, tiredness, heart palpitations, leading it all up to the very extreme end of a heart attack. So I don't mean to scare you with that. If it's something you're not comfortable with, just leave it out. But if it's something you want to explore because you want to feel your absolute very best, then explore it. Explore it with a medical professional, though. That's the reason why you'll notice is if you buy potassium supplements in pill form, you can't find any pill that has any more than 99 milligrams of potassium in it, and that's it. I learned this when I was trying to care for my mom, who was battling stage 4 ovarian cancer. Once you've done chemo so much, it's very hard for you to maintain potassium and magnesium levels. And so we were always trying to get magnesium and potassium in her. And I bought tablets, and I'm like, God, Mom, you're going to have to take like 20 of these things a day. And I finally found potassium, just like in a salt, I found potassium like that. It's just loose granules on Amazon from a company called Bulk Supplements, and I bought it. I bought potassium citrate. They say you probably should really do potassium chloride. Just like salt is sodium chloride, you should do potassium chloride, but they sell that too. I just have a bag of potassium citrate that I'm trying to finish off that I bought for my mom when I didn't know quite as much about it as I do now. All right, I know that was a lot of disclaimer. I know you waited a long time for this recipe, so here it goes. So the first thing I do is I heat up some water, and you want to do that because you want salt to dissolve. And it dissolves better in warm water, and the same applies to potassium. So I'll take some, so the goal is I'm going to be making a quart of this, right? And it's 1 or 2 servings. If you do 1, if you're a fasting person, 2 servings a day will get you your complete nutrition as far as electrolytes go, okay? So on days that I fast, and I do fast from time to time, I'll do 2 quarts of these throughout the day. On days that I'm eating, I'll just drink 1 quart of this a day, okay? Because it's a half dose of sodium, a half dose of potassium. So you want to warm up some water. Now, you don't want to warm up the whole quart. You want to warm up, like about 4 ounces. Get it nice and warm, and then you want to put 5 grams of salt in there. Now, don't use Morton's table salt because it's treated with iodine, and you're just going to be mega dosing on iodine. Get you a nice pink Himalayan sea salt. Make sure it isn't fortified with iodine. I use Sherpa pink Himalayan sea salt, but it doesn't matter. Now, if you're going to buy it, make sure it's fine ground, not coarse ground, because it's hard to get those coarse chunks to break down. So you want it to be really fine. That being said, you're going to put 5 grams in there. So if you have a scale and you're trying to be keto, you should have a scale. And I know you're thinking, well, God, I've been doing keto without a scale. Trust me, get a scale. Day 1, I had a scale, and it made my life so much easier. Knowing exactly what you eat helps a lot. Now, the more you get comfortable with foods, the less you have to weigh them. But anytime you get a new food come in and you're not familiar with what serving sizes are or whatever, man, having a scale is amazing. And then for doing things like this. So if you don't have it, you're going to be doing about a tablespoon. So a tablespoon is in the 4 to 5 gram range or whatever. So you're going to dump you a tablespoon of salt in there. And then you're going to do basically the same thing with the potassium. Now, if you're not doing potassium, don't worry about this part. But if you've bought you a loose granular potassium supplement, same thing. You want about the same amount of grams. So you're going to get that in there. You're going to get it mixed up nice and good. And you're going to get it going, right? Then to that, you're going to want to add a tablespoon, anywhere from 1 to 3 tablespoons of lime juice or lemon juice. Now, lime juice is going to be less sweet and more tart. It's also going to have less carbs. There are going to be some incidental carbs in here. There's not going to be very many, but there will be. It's a few. It's a handful. I buy at Publix, they have in a glass jar, I believe the brand name is Lakewood, but it is 100% pure organic lemon juice. And it's delicious and it's easy to store, and you just store it right there in the refrigerator. You pop it out. So go with that. And I'd say you want to do about a maximum of 2 tablespoons of it, a tablespoon to 2 tablespoons. That's really what you want to put in there. And you want to get that in there, mix it real good. Then you want to whip out this apple cider vinegar. Now, get one that has the mother in it. Bragg's is the one everybody says you should get. But honestly, I've tried several different ones. There's cheaper brands that have the mother. Matter of fact, the one I'm drinking now is a cheaper brand that I found at Publix. But it has the mother in it, and it's organic, and it's delicious, and it was less expensive. So you're going to put about a tablespoon of that in there as well to 2 tablespoons. So whatever tastes best to you, I'd say up to 2 tablespoons. I do the full 2 tablespoons. You're going to get that in there, and you're going to get that mixed around and get it going really, really good. Now, at this point, you may be able to drink it, you may not. It depends on your tolerance for tart, acidic, aggressive things in your mouth. I can drink it just like that, but I have started adding about 4 to 6 drops of stevia / monk fruit sweetener. If you only have stevia drops, that's fine. If you're a stevia drop person, if you're a monk fruit drop person, that's fine. You should have done the research on whatever keto friendly sweetener you're using, though, and know that it doesn't affect your blood sugar. And I know for me that the stevia / monk fruit drops do not affect my blood sugar. They don't have an impact. So that's why I use that. Stevia doesn't. I think it's pretty much been shown. So just don't get stevia powder. You want to get stevia drops. They take that powder, they mix it in with dextrose and all kind of other sugars. And so it actually winds up having sugar in it. They don't do that with the drops. So if you haven't become a stevia person yet and you're going to try the stevia drops, then make sure that you get the actual drops, not the powder. If you can get a stevia / monk fruit blend, it's going to taste way more like the sweetness you were accustomed to as a non-keto person. So you're going to mix that around real good, dump it in your quart jar, fill it up the rest of the way with cold water, and then ice it if you want it nice and ice cold. I'm usually fine with it as whatever temperature it winds up once I pour cold water in it. Nevertheless, you take that quart. Now, you don't want to guzzle it. This is something you're going to sip on over the course of a couple of hours or something. So it's just sipping on drink. Think of it as a fine keto lemonade. And you're just going to sip on it and make it last an hour to 2 hours so that you don't dump all that salt and dump all that potassium in your body all at one time, because it'll freak out. And I'm not saying nothing bad will happen, but I'm saying it could immediately flush much of that salt out. Your body goes, oh, wow, look at all this salt. And next thing you know, your kidneys are processing it out, and you're peeing it out, and that completely defeats the point of drinking it. So you want to sip it slow over time. And you're getting so many benefits from this. There's benefits from the lemon or lime juice. There's benefits from the apple cider vinegar. There's benefits from the sodium. There's benefits from the potassium. I mean, and besides that, you're getting a quart of water in. I really have enjoyed drinking this, and I will say, especially on the days that I fast, it gives me something with taste in it. It has a taste to it, and it's something I look forward to. So if I do a fasting day, boy, around 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, when I feel like I've been deprived all day, I mix this up, and it's like a treat. I'm like, oh, yeah, I get something nice and with taste and flavor in it besides water. So that's what I do. If you try it, let me know what you think about it. I appreciate your comments. Share this on your page. Subscribe to us on the social medias. Fat Guy Podcast is the username for all of them. Download that Spreaker app so you can catch previous episodes. I highly recommend that you go back and listen to the episode I did on electrolytes. It's very detailed. And we'll see you next time. Thanks so much.